The final weekend recap, well, in which we'll only be covering the Bundesliga, as we have the Portuguese Liga NOS starting on Wednesday, and Spain, Italy, and England are going to join us, and we'll at least have some sort of normalcy in this weird, burning world. I'm Adrian, a dork that is wearing not one, but two pieces of his own merchandise. This is not the studio, by the way, although I do kind of dig the plant vibe that we've got going on here, but I'll be filming in the studio soon. It's still a storage room at the moment, priorities. Smash like in the chat if you think that I should have plants in the studio. Anyways, I hope that you are well. I hope that you've been staying safe this weekend. And let's talk about the Bundesliga. There were some big results midweek, such as Wolfsburg beating Bayern Leverkusen 4-1. Massive result for them. Or Bayern effectively ending the title race with a win over Dortmund, coupled with Leipzig's failure to get a win over a hot Hertha Berlin team. There was also Hoffenheim ending their winless run with a 3-1 victory over Köln, and if you'll believe it, they've won once again. This weekend they went away to Mainz, and if it weren't for Mainz shotstopper Florian Müller, they would have won comfortably. Mind you, Baumann wasn't too bad either for Hoffenheim, though he was called upon far less than Müller. The finishing from Mainz, opposite side of the coin, could have been a lot better, and they really should have scored at least two, and they came close. They had two huge opportunities that were, I wouldn't say so much wasted, one of them hitting the bar. And Hoffenheim did as well, such as their penalty in the 28th minute, though it was indeed a great save by Müller, of course. Anyway, in the 38th minute, Hoffenheim's Jakob Brun-Larsen went off injured and was replaced by Ilhas Bebu, and 5 minutes later, Bebu took down a through ball gently, stepped outside of the two Mainz defenders, and rolled it past Müller for the winner. 1-0 Hoffenheim. Mainz scored in the 60th, but it was called back for a foul on Baumann. Müller, the Mainz keeper, incredible match. Mainz a bit unlucky in their finishing. Dortmund versus Paderborn, two teams at virtually opposite ends of the table, and Dortmund didn't really get up and running until the second half, I found. They looked a little bit out of sorts on the pitch, playing without a true striker and a typically attack-minded Lucien Favre style. Brandt, Guerrero, Hazard, Sancho, Hakimi were all on the pitch to start, but as I said, their attacks started to look dangerous in the second, when Chan let the ball run through to Hakimi and his strike was saved on this occasion. But the floodgates opened up after that, and it was easier and easier for Dortmund to break through as the half wore on, and they managed to take the lead with Chan again in the action, forcing a save out of Zingerl. He really made a mess of things, and Hazard was there to clean it up. Brandt then set up Sancho 3 minutes later before Paderborn sent a pang of fear through Dortmund, having a goal called back and then converting from the spot to make it 2-1, but it was all for naught. Never really felt like it would get out of hand, especially after Sancho scored to make it 3-1. He later in the match scored his hat trick in a 3-goal blitz in the last 6 minutes of the match, but what really made my heart sing was seeing Marcel Schmelzer come on in the 80th minute. Such a great servant to the club that has had very limited opportunities, and he was a great servant in this match as well. First, he set up Hakimi in the 85th minute, then Schmelzer got on the end of a Witsel ball across the box, the instincts of a true striker. You love to see that. Just his 5th appearance this season, all of which have been substitute appearances, for a grand total of 24 minutes of playtime. Crazy. He only ever gets on the pitch in the dying moments of the match under Favre, and perhaps rightfully so with the team that they do have, but it's good to see Schmelzer and Piszczek on the pitch together after all these years. And Hummels too, I guess. Man, a real throwback defensive line for Dortmund. And by the way, that hat trick from Sancho took him up to 17 goals and 16 assists. Insane season for him. 6-1 the final for Dortmund. Borussia Mönchengladbach are back to winning now as they took on Union Berlin in front of their cardboard fans. Unfortunately, my Borussia Mönchengladbach in my career mode are having an extremely tough time due to me being inept. My God, 4 goals leaked against RB Leipzig in the first half. But I will practice though every damn day. I shall play and improve. But anyways, the far superior manager, that is Marco Rose, far superior than Management at least, fielded a strong side against Union, and their main threats, Marcus Thuram and Alassane Plea, got the job done. Not to mention Oliver Neuhaus, who opened the scoring with a beautiful finish that rolled off the post and in. But yeah, Plea and Thuram took over this match for Gladbach, with Plea finding Thuram at the back post with a nice cross that the fellow Frenchman headed in. Also really nice to see Thuram pay tribute to George Floyd, just as Jadon Sancho did when he scored. Hakimi as well, among others. Countless others around the world, not just in the States, paying tribute to him and Black Lives Matter. It's been shocking to watch videos of the police beating up on the protesters, by the way, in the States. They sure fast-tracked those 8 p.m. curfews to control the crowds. Certainly much faster than they enforced the coronavirus measures to keep the economy going, which shows where their priorities lie. And I know I usually keep this apolitical, but this isn't really politics. It's human rights. It's the murder of yet another black man at the hands of the police, and then trying to silence the protests after? The f***? Anyways, it feels sort of weird talking about football after bringing that up. We will continue. We will do what our job is now. So, back to Borussia Mönchengladbach. In the second half, despite Anderson pulling one back for Union, Playa set up Thuram once again with another ball to the back post. What great vision Playa has, making it easy for Thuram in this match. And finally, Bensebaini set up Playa, left completely alone in the box, and he swept the ball to the bottom corner with his left. 4-1 the final there as Gladbach looked to climb back up to third place in the standings. Heading in the opposite direction is Schalke, and I hope for the best for David Wagner, but you wouldn't be surprised to see the current headlines that question whether he'll last the rest of the season with Schalke at this rate. Like I said last weekend, they're completely disjointed. It's as if they've never played together. And so another match day, another disappointment. This weekend they played against yet another bottom of the table club in Werder Bremen, who, to be fair, in some respects are actually in a decent bit of form at the moment. Certainly better than Schalke's. But anyways, Todibo, who loves a dribble, coughed up possession at the halfway line and left Schalke completely exposed at the back. Another schoolboy error from a player that does have a lot of promise. But Bremen headed in the other direction, and thanks to a wonder strike from Bittencourt, Bremen were 1-0 up after half an hour. The response from Schalke was fairly pathetic following the goal that they conceded. McKennie did have a header just go wide, another guy who paid respects to George Floyd. But early in the second half, they looked way better. Rahman forced a save from Pavlienka, maybe it's because they don't want a free fall anymore. It was the first save that Pavlienka had to make of the match. Gregoritsch slapped one over the bar, but aside from that, not much was happening, and Bremen could have got a second via Osako, but 1-0 was the final to Bremen. Bremen's dreams of escaping relegation are starting to become a reality here, while the Schalke nightmare continues. That's 4 losses since the return of football, 3 of which have been against teams in the bottom 5. Numbers, man. Terrible form in yet another match in which they fail to score. Another team that has had to watch themselves slip further and further down the table is Eintracht Frankfurt, but they showed some signs of life and a bit of fight this week when they faced Wolfsburg. They showed a ton of fight actually midweek when they came back from 3-1 down to tie 3-3 with Freiburg, no doubt getting some confidence back in their ranks, which they desperately need. Andre Silva's fine form continued as he scored yet again, this time from the penalty spot for his 7th Bundesliga goal of the season. He scored in 3 of the 4 matches since the Bundesliga's return and 6 in his last 8 matches cumulatively. But his goal was a bit against the run of play as Wolfsburg really should have taken the lead if not for a fine save from Trapp on Bracalo from point blank, able to tip that over the bar. The onslaught continued for Wolfsburg as they were really unlucky to not find an equalizer in the first half. Trapp was peppered. Man, 14 shots were launched his way, a few of which coming very close, while the others were stopped. Wolfsburg finally did get their equalizer, and deservedly so, through Kevin Mbabu in the second half, though I did think that Trapp looked weak on this occasion as he basically palmed the ball into the roof of the goal. But I mean, credit to Frankfurt as they got much more control of the game in the second half and managed to plug things up in the midfield, get a little more possession. Bas Dost came on for Silva, who was beginning to disappear as time went on, which he is wont to do. And Bas Dost made a huge difference in the 85th minute, especially when Kostic hung a ball up to the back post, and Big Dost nodded it across the 6 for Daichi Kamada to roll it past Castells for the winner. Frankfurt's first win since a 2-0 victory over Bremen at the beginning of March, and they needed those 3 points. They showed promise against Freiburg, and while their performance waned in the second half against Wolfsburg, they found a way through and could perhaps find a way through to 9th or something. A team who's really turned things around under their new manager, Hertha Berlin, have continued to score and continued to win. They faced Augsburg at home this weekend, and with the Olympiastadion looking cavernous, my friend. Dil Rosen filled me with joy, though. Didn't need to fill the stands with fans because he filled me with joy. What a goal he scored. At first glance, it may look simple, but coming from a rebound, his little flick to evade the defender was special, lifting the ball up and over Udwakai's tackle and then slotting it into the goal. That was his first goal since October. Labadia getting great performances out of everyone at the club. And yes, that even includes Krzysztof Piątek, a man whose career has been on the ropes, it feels like, since leaving Genoa. He came on as a substitute in the 65th minute after a spell of Augsburg dominating the match. And while that continued throughout the second half with chance after chance going begging for the visitors, Piątek punished them. As he and Grujic countered with Andreas Lute at his mercy, he rolled the ball into the corner, 2-0 Hertha. Not their most comfortable win, but yet another win for Labadia. 3 wins and a draw since the return. Only Leipzig could keep them away from 3 points. And when I said that Piątek's career was on the ropes, it obviously wasn't at risk of ending. That's not true at all, but he's just been going downhill since he left Genoa. Leverkusen bounced back from their extremely disappointing 4-1 loss to Wolfsburg midweek with a fantastic 1-0 win over Freiburg. Guess who scored? Yes, you're right. It was indeed Kai Havertz, as he has adapted to the striker position beautifully, showing his footballing intelligence to get into scoring positions regularly and that he can be a lethal finish as well and not just a man pulling the strings. I mean, sometimes he doesn't even get many opportunities, but he puts one of them away at least. Including his form from before the enforced break, he scored 8 goals and set up 5 in his last 10 matches. Stunning form, and he'll no doubt be a top priority once the transfer window returns to normal-ish in the future. And finally, Bayern Munich made easy work of Fortuna Dusseldorf, as you'd expect them to do. Benjamin Pavard's strike towards goal was bundled in by Dusseldorf's Zenka, but Pavard would get his due, a legitimate goal for himself to make it 2-0 later on. Then the classics took over. The Bayern classics, with Lewandowski scoring from a typically unselfish squared ball by Thomas Müller, Müller's 18th assist of the season. Then Gnabry played setup man as he laid the ball inside for Lewandowski, and his finish with his trailing boot. Ooh, through the keeper's legs. A delight, absolute delight. Didn't get me as giddy and delighted as when I see my boy Alphonso Davies get that bread, and he scored the 5th for Bayern with what was his 3rd goal of the season, his 2nd in the last 3 matches. He's in great form as well. Long may that continue. So, no surprises with that result as Bayern win 5-0. They hold on to their 7-point lead over Dortmund, while there's no Leipzig to speak of as they play Köln today, Monday. And look at Schalke fall, by the way, from 6th to 10th in 4 matches. At the bottom of the table, Bremen are gaining on Dusseldorf, and they do indeed have a match in hand. If they win that match against Frankfurt, they're out of the automatic relegation place, and those guys actually play midweek this week on Wednesday. So, I mean, that's the same day that the Portuguese league begins, the 3rd of June, and they'll play for 5 days in a row. Hey guys, thanks again for joining me, and I can't wait for the next few weeks. We've got some mid-season previews to do for the different leagues that are returning, and more. I'm Adrian. It feels good to look forward to some work. This is Rabona TV. I love you, and please stay safe. Ciao.